in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to create a UI picker effect for YouTube Shorts using YouTube's Effect Maker tool, where you can basically click on the different flower buttons and change the color of your flower headband or the flowers that are on your headband. Let's get started. To start off, I have added 3 flower images into the assets folder. I have uploaded 4 PNG assets. I am going to start with going over to the Objects tab in YouTube Effect Maker and right-clicking on my mouse and clicking Add Object and then adding an image. I am going to select one of these flower images and then I am going to size it down to say maybe like 100. I'm going to basically be creating buttons that we can select, and then those buttons will change the user's flower that they're wearing on their head. I'm going to create, position them as buttons on the preview panel. So I'm going to adjust its position, this image's position, to say maybe, let's say 200 pixels. And then minus 300 pixels. And I'm going to just rename it as flower button image button, because then I'm going to duplicate it into a second one, and I'm going to set its position to 0. Then I'm going to duplicate it another time and set its position to 200 positive. So they're all evened out as 3 different little flowers. Then I will change the image of flower image button 2 to flower image. Let's choose pink flower. Let's see, pink flower image 2. I kind of like the first one, but I might go with the second one. This is for now. Then I will change flower image button 3 to orange flower image. Okay, so we have our flower images. Then I am going to add, I'm going to right click, add, go to face effects, and then add a face accessory and add an image. It's going to be one of these flower images. Whatever it is right now though, we can change it later. So I'm going to set its size a bit bigger to maybe like 6 pixels or 8 pixels. In 3D space, the sizes are a bit bigger than 2D space because the pixel edge and all of that is a bit different. I'm going to rotate it by maybe 30 minus 30 degrees. Yes, perfect. Minus 45 degrees. Yes, perfect. Okay. And then rotate the X position by maybe minus 20. Minus 20. And then rotate the Y by maybe 20 degrees. That looks really pretty. So we can have a flower on our heads. Okay, so I have the base core of the imagery visual set up. I'm going to start going into my visual scripting editor, and I'm going to right click and add a node which will be set variable. And I'm going to add another node that will be get, actually not set variable, I'm going to get property, or yeah, I am going to do set. I'm going to get variable actually, and set variable. Sorry about that. Get variable and set property. I'm going to go over to my variables tab right here. I'm going to click on the variables button, and I'm going to add a variable to my project. I'm going to call it flower images, or maybe let's call it UI images. Image, flower, image, array. And then I'm going to scroll down and select its type to be a set. The variable's type is now set. And now it will want me to change the value type and add a value, so I can add one of these white flower images if it's single value, but I want this variable to be a list of values, so like an array. And then I'm going to add a few variables, the number of images that I want to this list of values, which is going to be the pink and the orange flower image. So now we have a flower images array. In place 0, it contains the white flower image, place 1, it contains the pink flower image, and place 2, it contains the orange flower image. So I'm going to get out of edit, and then I'm going to close the variables tab. Then I'm going to change select set property. I'm going to change the object input for which object we're going to be changing to the white flower image, which should be named flower head, let's call it that. flower head, let's head flower. Let's rename it to head flower. Flower on head, flower on head. Okay, so I'm going to be setting the property of this flower that is on the user's head. I'm going to select the property that I want to set, and I'm going to change it to the set. So the set that it has is the image set. And I am going to leave that open, and then I'm going to get the variable of flower image array, and then I'm going to right click, go back into my nodes, and I'm going to get a get item from list, get from list variable. Then I'm going to change the get from list variable's type to a set, and then I'm going to connect that to the get from list. And now, so basically whatever the index is in this get from list variable is the item that I will be pulling, the item that I will be getting from this variable list. So maybe I should rename it flower image list. So as you can see right here, the list value is 0. So if I'm getting from list index 0, I will be getting the white flower image. If I'm getting from list object 1, I will be getting the pink flower image. If I'm getting from list object 2, I will be getting the orange flower image. And we can see that happen. I will do the value and I will add a trigger that's called start, so it happens every time I change. So let's see. Okay, currently the index is set at 2, so we get orange flower image. If I set the index at 1, we get pink flower image. And if I set it at 0, we get white flower image. So I want to set it up to where when we click on one of these flowers, it changes. What I am going to do is I'm going to delete this start, or actually I'll keep it, but yeah, I'm going to delete it for now. I'll add another trigger that is called object tap, and I'll select the object that want tapped is flower image button. So first flower image button, maybe I should rename it to flower image button 1. Okay, so when the user taps on it, it will respond. So let's do it as flower image button 1. When the user taps on it, then let's trigger to set the flower on head to be this white flower. And we can't see anything because it's currently set at the white flower. So I'm going to hold down my mouse and select all 4 of these nodes, and then I'm going to click Ctrl D on my keyboard to duplicate those nodes, and then I'm going to, that duplicated those 4 nodes, and then I'm going to change the image that I'm selecting to flower image button 2, and then I'm going to change the image that we're setting to 1. So now when we click on it, it'll change. So now if I click on the first image, the first flower, it'll change back to that white flower. So we have both of those working. And I'm going to do the same sequence for the third flower, the orange flower. And I'm going to change the index to 2. And now as you can see, we have an image picker. I'm going to take it just a step further and add a bit of bounciness and basically feedback when you click on the button so users can tell that button was clicked. And I'm going to add a transition node. That is to transition like the sizing of the image. So our flower images are 150 pixels. We could have it as different pixels, but I'm going to change the height and width to the same. So 150 pixels, 150 pixels, and 150 pixels. And then I'm going to add another set property variable, and I'm going to be setting the image button's size property. So I'm going to do the size, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another node from time and utility that is combined into vector. So I'm going to be combining into vector 2 because our 2D images are a vector 2, a 2D vector. So I'm going to basically be doing I'm going to be setting both X and Y value at the same time. So whatever the transition button is outputting, it's going to be setting that to the Y value. So currently we have our width and height of our images are set to 150. I'm going to set the start value to 150. So I want the button to initially be at 150 when you click on it, but then I want it to size down to maybe like 130. And I want that duration to be 1 second. Let's do 2 seconds so you can see it initially. And I'm going to do on object tap, I'm going to do it to start, transition, so we can see it when we tap. Then I'm going to do on change, I will be setting the size. So every update every frame during that 2 seconds, it will change size. And as you can see, it slightly makes the button smaller. If you do it as more of 50 seconds, you'll be able to see that feedback more drastically. I like to do a bounce down and then a bounce back up because it looks a bit more natural. So I will duplicate that code, and then I will do when it goes down to 130 size, or say 120 size, then I will do when that ends, I will want to start a transition back to 150. So you see a quick bounce, and it doesn't look too it doesn't stick there. 150. And see, as you can see, that does a nice bounce. But now thinking about it, I might want whichever button is currently done, currently down. Well, I'm going to keep it this type of design for this. And I'll show another type of button design in another tutorial video. So I'm going to actually do when the button transitions to the bottom, it's going to change the flower. So it looks a bit more natural, and the flower isn't changing right when you click, or it takes until the button bounces back. It will be in the middle, so it looks a bit more natural. And you can't see it right now because that's with the white flower, but I'm going to duplicate this code and use it for the other flowers. And maybe I should have waited to create this code until I did. Maybe I should have waited to duplicate for the other flowers, but it's perfectly fine. And I'll show that for each button. So I'm just connecting the inputs and outputs, so basically replicating what's up here. Maybe I should separate it a bit more. This is one button. This code is one button. So I'm going to set the flower image button to be button 2 that I'm making bounce up and down, and button 2. So this is basically just making feedback for the buttons. A little bounce so the user knows, oh hey, I clicked on it. See, it works. And I'm going to duplicate these again. Sometimes you have to click Shift on your keyboard to select all. So if you're having trouble selecting all of the nodes, just click Shift on your keyboard and then try to select it with your mouse. I'm selecting the third flower. So we have 3 flowers. Each block of code is a flower. And this is our... Oops, I forgot to see, as you can see when I click on the orange flower, it's making the pink flower bounce. I forgot to change the image button that we're setting the size of. Now, they all bounce. Now, when you click record, if you notice, the buttons are still there, which in general, I wouldn't really want to still see the buttons when I'm trying to record me wearing the flower. So what I'm going to do to resolve that is I'm going to go over on the side, I'm going to move to the side, and I'm going to create a bit of logic to turn the buttons off when the user starts recording. So the viewers who see it don't know that you even had buttons or anything so it doesn't interrupt the experience and what you have. So I'm going to add a record node because, you might have some to where you might see the buttons in the recorded video, but a lot of times you don't necessarily want to see that. You don't care how the user got this pretty flower on their head, you just want to see the pretty flower on their head. So I'm going to create a set property node, and we're going to create it for flower image button 1, and I'm going to set the property of visibility. I'm going to do on record, set the visibility to false. And now when I click record, that button goes off. I'm going to do the same for the other 2 buttons, so the pink button, the pink flower, and the orange flower. And now we have a pretty flower. So when we restart, actually I might also want to do, so if the user records and then stops recording, they can see the buttons pop up and they can change the option again, because the end user won't see it. So I'm going to do on recording stop, I'm going to set the buttons to visible again. So when we record, they disappear. When we stop recording, they reappear for the user to reselect. And now if you click the white flower, it turns white. If you click the pink flower, it turns pink. And if you click the orange flower, it turns orange. And that is how we create a UI picker in YouTube Effect Maker. This is the final result. I added a few different button functionalities. So instead of the buttons just bouncing when you click on them, now they stay down, the selected one stays down, and the one that got unselected comes back up. And then I also decided to go with the darker pink flower instead of the lighter pink flower, and I changed the white flower just a slight bit. And then I also adjusted the flower to be from one flower on the head to multiple flowers on the head. So it's like a flower crown instead of just a single flower. Basically just polish I had added to it. As you can see, like I'm setting multiple flowers instead of just the one flower on head. And I had also duplicated, so to do the certain button functionality, I had to set as like if I created like a flower index to keep track of which flower is currently selected, and then basically before I like select the new flower, I make the old flower like bounce back up if you clicked on a different one, or if you're clicking on the same one, then the same one just bounces a little. And that is basically it. So I basically just added a little bit more polish to it, and this is the final version before I publish. Thank you for watching. Make sure to try out this effect through the link that I will add in the description in this video, and make sure to let me know what other types of YouTube Effect Maker tutorials you'd like to see me share.